Hi, I'm Kelly from kellyjjewellery. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make another version of the pendant that I did in my last video, which is this one. So this is the first version. This is my new version. So the original one has got like this big wide bail and a teardrop stone with an 8mm small stone, and the new version has this woven bail with a smaller stone. So we've got a 5mm stone and an oval main stone there. So I just wanted to show that you can use other shaped stones. Having the little gap at the bottom really helped as well for attaching this weave in, but you don't necessarily have to have that, as we didn't have that with this one. So yeah, got another version of it. If you'd like to give it a try, keep watching. Quick shout out to all my patrons. Thank you guys for your support and all your love over on Patreon. I'll put all your names on the screen. Thank you all so much for supporting me and making it possible for me to keep making all these videos for you. I really love making these videos. So to make this one, you'll need the same wires, a 0.8mm, that's 20 gauge. And I've cut 4 lengths at 13 inches, which is 33 centimetres, 0.315mm weaving wire, which is 28 gauge, and I've got 300 centimetres wound onto my bobbin. So I use a Bobeeze bobbin by Beadsmith, that's the 25mm unweighted. I wind my wire onto here, and that just sits down by your side, and it just makes it easier working with the long lengths of weaving wire. If you don't have one, don't worry, you can just cut shorter lengths as you go. What else have I got? So my stone today is 25mm long by 18 wide. So you really can use any sort of shape or size stone you want for this. You really can, it's just so adaptable. My small stone is just 5mm this time, and again I've still got the pointy back. So you can use a flat back or a pointy back, and again you can use any size really that you want. You could get away with most shapes, but that's what I'm going to be using today. Tools are all the same: pliers, round nose pliers, cutters, nylon pliers. If you don't have nylon pliers, don't worry. I just like having these handy for straightening the wires and compressing and flattening the weaves. These are Prestige, and all my other tools are Tronex, and I've got some bail pliers today, just with the 2 sizes. These are really cheap. These was about £3. I found them on eBay. They haven't got a name on. Pretty cool to use. I think that's everything. Let's get started. So cut your wires to the lengths that I have. Take your base wires, position your thumb centrally on those wires, and we'll start weaving just to the left of your thumb there. So we'll start with 3 wraps around the bottom wire, and we'll go around the bottom 2, coming up between those 2 wires. We'll go around the middle 2, coming up between those 2 wires. Over the top, come up between those 2. Oh, come up between the bottom 2. So then we go around the middle wire, 2 wires, and then around the bottom 2. Okay, getting there now. So we're going to repeat that. So now I go around the middle 2, those 2, around the top 2, around the middle 2, around the bottom 2. We'll repeat that a few more times. So I've done about 5 repeats of that weave, finishing with 3 wraps around the bottom wire. Make sure your weave is pretty central on the wires. Push it together. We're going to cut the ends off, both ends. Press those little cut ends down. I still want a V in the bottom of my pendant, so I'm going to grip centrally along that weave, I'm going to bend it into a V. So even though my stone is oval, I still want a V shape in the bottom of it. So now we need to just shape the wires around the stone. Try and hold it as level as you can. And we'll bring the wires around the stone. And then where they cross at the top, we're going to straighten them up. We're going to straighten them up there. Oop. So make sure your wires haven't crossed over each other and separate them so it's easier for weaving. So hold them here and just pull them apart. And we'll do a little weave at the top on each side just to hold the wires together. We'll do the same weave as we did for the bottom at the top. Start with 3 wraps around the bottom wire. Wrap around your bottom wire, slide it down, and then we'll do the same weave as we did before. We don't need to do as many. We can do about just 3 or 4 repeats of that weave. Finish with 3 wraps around the bottom wire, push it together, and then cut that wire at both ends. Give the wire a little pull first so it's nice and tight, and then press down your little cut ends with your pliers. Turn it around and we'll weave the other side, starting with 3 wraps around the top wire for that side. Going to do the weave sort of upside down so that it's all matching. Come up between the middle 2. We'll go around the top 2 wires. Come up between the bottom 2. We go around the middle wires. Wrap around the bottom 2. Come up between. Wrap around the middle 2. Come up between. And wrap around the top 2. So we need to do 3 repeats on this side. And then we'll carry on. We won't cut the wire then, and we can weave our bail. Finish with 3 wraps around the top wire. Cut the wire only from the beginning. So now make sure your weaves haven't slid down, so push them so they're really quite close to the top. And we're going to wrap around all the top wires and try not to let the wires cross over each other, but you do want it nice and tight. So I'm going to round about 5 times. Oh, that noise is Gracie snoring her head off. And then we'll go a few times around one of these back wires. So reposition your stone. Turn to the back. Grab that back wire back a little bit. We're just making a gap between the wires. We're going to grip the wire. I'm not gripping it below the stone because then you'll see it from the front. So I'm going to grip it here next to the stone. I'm going to twist it in. And then I'm going to do the same at the top. I'm just going to scoop the middle out a little bit. Turn it around. It's going to really keep trying to get out, isn't it? At the bottom here, next to the stone, trying to get it the same height as the other one. Twist that wire in. And do one big twist, because if you keep going back to it, you're going to mark your wires. Grip the top, twist it in as well. Scoop the middle of it out a little bit. So we'll do the front too, and of course you can do whatever you want. On the other one, the other version, I pulled it in here and then I pulled it in here, so we had like opposites. On this one I'm going to do what I've done to the back, so I'm going to pull it in at the bottom of the stone and then at the top of the stone, and then I'm going to scoop the middle back out. And I'll do it on this side as well. So trying to match up the heights on here. So try and match up the heights. Is that a bit low? So that's my stone secured in place. Make sure you part the side wires a bit. And give it a little squeeze above and below the stone to make sure it's held nice and firmly in place. So now that stone is held nicely in place, we can attach our second stone. We can fit our second stone, so cut your weaving wire there and we'll reattach that for our bail in just a few minutes. So as I said in my last video, when you're fitting a little stone in there, if your stone has a flat back, then you can move to a flat surface. You can position your stone in there flat side down, and you can bring your wires around your stone, or you can bring them around your fingers to shape them for the stone. If yours is a pointy back like mine, you could do with, like I said, you can shape the wire with your fingers if you want to, or you can use some bail pliers and see if you can find the size that this stone is going to be from those sizes, and then bend the wire around that size. Does that make sense? So you're getting a rough shape. If you let your wires intercross as well, just let them all go between each other. It doesn't really matter just at the minute. I'm trying to just get that shape at the top there. If your stone's going to fit. That's a bit big, so I need to make it smaller than that. So adjust it until it roughly fits your stone, and then we'll bend the wires up at the top there. So that's roughly the size I want. I'm going to bend the wires up there. Really try not to let the wires cross over each other. On my last one it was a much bigger stone. That's fitted in quite nicely. So now we need to attach the wires together. Now you know you've got the size right. So I've bent the wires out at the top, and now I'm just double checking the shape before I join it. I think it's ended up being a bit small, so I need to make it a little bit bigger. So part the wires a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. So you've got your 4 wires on each side, and they're not crossing over each other. Wrap a few times around a back wire, slide it down to where the wires meet, and then trying not to let them cross over each other, we'll go around the whole thing a good 4 or 5 times. Then you want to wrap around one of those back wires a few times just so that holds that. Cut the wire from the beginning of that So pop your stone in from the back, and if we adjust those front wires over first, and then we can adjust the back one, part the wires a little bit, and then twist the wire over the stone a little. Do it on the other side as well. If we turn it over, we need a little gap there first. Pull a back wire in. Got the point in the middle, and I've just pulled the back wires in a bit. And I shall squeeze on all the other wires to pull them in a bit tighter. So it's trapped in there. I can part those side wires a little bit. So push your weave back down if that's slid up a little bit. And next we're going to sort out these top wires. So we're going to keep the back wires to the back and the front wires 2 over to one side, 2 over to the other, and we're going to weave along these 4 wires at the back. I'm not going to do a big bail like I did on the other one. I'm just going to do a weave. So sit those wires however they want to sit to be nice and flat. And then we're going to weave across the 4 wires. So I'm going to wrap around this bottom one to get me in place. Going across the 4 wires. So I'm going to go over the second one, come up between those 2, go over the middle 2 wires, come up between those 2. So it's a slightly different weave from earlier. Go over the top, come up between those 2. So we've gone around 2 and come up between all the way to the top. Now we go around the top wire, come up between the middle 2, go around the 3rd wire, come up between the bottom 2, go around the 2nd wire, go around the bottom wire. So we go around each wire on the way back down. And that's our weave. Keep pushing it down, and then you'll have to adjust your wires a little bit just to keep them nice and close. So I've kept repeating that weave. You really do keep pushing it together as you go. So I've done about 3 centimeters of weave roughly, and I'm going to finish with a few wraps around one of the wires. And I'm going to bend this weave over the front instead of over the back like I did on the last one. And the advantage of this weave is if you look at the back, it looks exactly the same as the front. So we're okay. So I'm going to bend that weave directly over the front. Feel free to use your bail pliers. You can use your fingers if you want to. I'm going to push it back a little bit at the top of the stone, and I want the wires to fall at the top of the little stone. Does that make sense? And then I'm going to part the wires, and I'm going to take the middle ones of those 2 to the back. Gracie's snoring her head off. It's a bit nippy today. She's curled up next to the radiator next to me, so she's extra loud. Taking the middle wires across and around that middle section. Those middle wires went round really nice. Feel free to do something else with those wires if you want to, but I'm going to cut them and I'm just going to finish them off around that middle part. I'm just squeezing those 2 wires around that middle section. So I'm going to cut that weaving wire press down that little cut end. So we've got 4 wires at the top and 2 coming down. I'm going to take these 2 right wires next and we'll weave across those. So starting with 3 wraps around the bottom wire, slide that down. And we'll go 3 wraps around both wires. And repeat that weave. So we need quite a few repeats. We'll start with 12 and we'll add on from there. So I got a bit carried away and I've done more than 12. I think I've done about 14. Cut the wire from the beginning while we can still get to it. And then we'll bring that weave, so I've bent it down a little at the base, and we'll bring it over that front weave and down. Like that. And then this wire that comes down here, to grip it with your pliers, and we're going to bring it up and out to the side there. And I'm going to scoop it around to follow the weave, and I want a bead on it, so I'll just run and find a bead. So I'm guessing I forgot to mention that I'm going to be adding a couple of beads on there. So I've got some 3mm copper beads with a 1mm hole. You have to check the hole size before you buy your beads. I get mine off Etsy, but it depends where you are in the world. Pop your bead on there, bend your wire around, and you can carefully position where you want your bead to be. Ah, I thought it was recording then. So what I've done is I've brought the weave around the stone. I bent it that way first so I could then slowly shape the weave around, because I don't want the weave coming over the stone. So really push it that way and then pull it down so you're going around the stone. You don't want to cover up that cute little stone. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just add another repeat to my bottom 2 wires, just to get it to there, I think. So my weave happily comes around my stone and the weave finishes at the bottom there. I'm going to pull this one up a little bit just out the way for now. So I'm going to add more repeats to that weave. So just weaving across the 2 wires that we were weaving on originally. So I've added repeats onto that. So when you take this weave around, you need to make sure it's all pressed together. You need to make sure you're not covering the stone, because I'm going to take these 2 wires around too, so we want a little bit of a gap there. So you don't want it too close. So hold that there and take this weave around the stone like that. And then we're going to take the next wire up here and scoop it over. And I'm going to push it into the bail a bit. And I'm going to bring it around to follow that shape. So then I'm going to scoop it around this way. carefully, and then holding that there, I'm going to take it around 2. So then these 2 wires from the original weave, I'm going to carry on weaving across those 2, and I'm going to bring it over the front to follow around. So I've added more repeats to that weave. Keep pushing it together, and then I'm going to hold it and bring it directly across the front there, and we'll come back to it in just a minute. So going back to this top wire here, I'm going to push it up a little bit because I'm going to scoop it around, and I'm going to push it into the bail a little bit. I'm going to bring it around to go across like that there. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to finish this wire off, so it's got like, I like this fan across the top, but I don't want this wire coming around because I don't want it to cover up the stone. I've got a gap there. Can you see that gap there behind the wires? Will it focus? So I've got a gap there big enough for a wire to go through. So I'm going to carefully pull it back, and then I'm going to take the end of that wire through that gap there. Do you know where I mean? Make sure my other wires aren't in the way. I can feel I'm misshaping it. I don't want to misshape it too much. I want it to keep that nice shape. Like that. And then holding the front in place, that can go around the back there. So I've still got that fan shape. And then this wire here, that's coming down from that bail weave at the top, that wire I'm going to push back a little bit, and I'm going to scoop him around, and I'm going to do just a little loop. And then I'm going to come around and do another little loop next to it. I do want to put a bead on the second loop though. So I've got one of these little tiny beads. And then I'm going to pull that one down. They're covering up my stone a little bit. Where's my round nose gone? The round nose are so much tinier on the end. Hold on, I can pull it over a bit. It's going to have to come back out. Where shall I put it? So I'll let it step. Shall I let it step over these wires? So I think I'm going to bring these 2 bare wires together like that. So I've undone a bit more of that weave, so it's just to there. I've obviously got these 2 wires already. So holding that wire there that goes next to the stone, I'm going to bring this wire over, and I don't want it to come across the stone to there and then goes across. So take your weaving wire, and we'll start with 3 wraps around. We'll call it the bottom wire, seeing as I'm holding it upside down. This is the bottom wire, so we'll go around the bottom 2. We'll go around 3. Come up between the bottom 2. We'll go around the middle 3, come up between the bottom 2, go around the top, so I'm going around 4 wires, come up between the bottom 2, we'll go around 3, then we'll go around the bottom 3, bottom 2, bottom wire 3 times. If you push that together, that should look quite pretty. Nice big weave across all 5 wires. So I've repeated that weave, and I'm going to carefully bend it around the side of the stone there. And I'm going to hook it in place by posting these 2 wires over and around, going through beneath the stone there. So position the weave where you want it to be, and then pull those wires around, and I'm going to cut the weaving wire. So those 2 wires, I'm going to bend them up and push them so they press around the side wires there, and they're going to finish just against that there, but behind this weave. Do you know what I mean? So I'll cut a little bit more length off, bend them around and push them, press around that side, but you haven't got any sharp ends because they're right tucked up behind that weave there. This one I'm going to scoop up. This little teeny tiny one's going to come across. Now I can't do anything with that at all, can I? And this one I'm going to bring across, and I'm going to take down. So I need to make sure that that one that I pressed down is squeezed around the middle there too. And these 2, I'm going to cut them off. This one's quite short, that can just curl there, that's fine. But this one may catch on things, so I'm just going to add a little bit of weaving wire and tie that. Pleased how this one's turned out. When I was making the other one yesterday, I had a few ideas of things opposite to what I'd drawn, what I wanted to try. And I don't know if you're like me, but you just can't move on to the next piece until you've got all those ideas out. So I've wrapped 3 times around that one, that bottom wire, and what I've done is I've taken my weaving wire around the whole side of weaves there. I push that along around the bare wire a few times, and then I can curl that wire into just a little curl, and that'll hold it down. Don't forget to press down a little cut end. Do what you want. These wires, I will recommend that you leave them a little bit longer so you can do other things if you want to. Mine did end up being a bit short there. I didn't think I was going to be taking this many wires to the bottom. But there you go. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do. One more wire sticking up at the top, and we're done. You can bring this wire into it if you want to, but I don't want to cover up the stone. I don't want to add to these curls here. I don't want to add any more wires to the weave. I think I'm just going to finish it. If you want to add it somewhere, feel free. I'm going to press it around there. So there we have it, finished. I've oxidised mine. If you'd like help oxidising yours, I've done videos on oxidising and aftercare. I'll put links in the description below. So there we go, another version of that design for you. I hope you managed to follow okay. I hope you managed to follow okay, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye for now. Bye.